All right, so before we move ahead on the second part, I'm going to show you how I'm going to make each of those coils that I fit on here look more like this kind of jelly bean shape so that they look a little bit more rounded, like the links or little sections on a balloon dog. So I'm really just going to take it, bend it gently like that, and I'm just going to smooth. I haven't wet my finger because I want to drag a little bit of the clay just to kind of round the end of it. Okay, so it's going to look a little bit sloppy right now when I do this. Okay, then I can kind of just roll it in my hands again, and if I have any little lumps or bumps, I could put the tiniest bit of water and just smooth it. Please don't overdo it with the water. Sometimes my students will see how nice and smooth their clay will get when they use water, and they overdo it, and it actually starts to get muddy and weak. And since we are building something, we don't want that to happen. So now I have this kind of little bean shape. So I'm gonna put this on here. So now I have pieces for my legs, pieces for my ears, and notice I kind of just ignored this part and just put them there. I have a piece for my belly, which is similar to the legs, except I didn't bend it, it's just rounded. And I have a piece for my tail, which I rolled a coil. And now to make this little end part, I'm gonna just pinch, pinch, pinch. So instead of having to slip, score, and attach this, I'm just gonna pinch like that. I'm gonna take this extra off because there was a little too much. Now we don't want it to be too skinny or too long, because with this type of clay, that's how we can kind of get into having things snap off or break. With a stronger type of clay, like a porcelain, you can do things like that. But with the clay that we're using right now as beginners, we could get some snapping if it's too skinny. Okay, so that's going to be that sort of little end there. So I'll put this over here. Now the last two pieces that I have to make before I start building are going to be my head. So you can roll a ball and then start to roll a little bit of a coil, but you want one end to be skinnier. So you're just going to roll it in your hand, just one end in your hand, to get sort of a teardrop, and then you can smooth it out. You know, make sure he doesn't have a lumpy, bumpy head. We want it to be nice and smooth. And again, I'm not even really using water on this. If you need a little bit, just a tiny bit, okay? Okay, and then my last little thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a little ball rolled. We're gonna wind up using that for our knot, and I'll show you how we're gonna turn that into the knot. But first things first, when we're building, we want to start building from the bottom up. We're going to start with our legs, and we're going to begin by attaching them together. So we're going to do something called slipping and scoring. So with this type of clay, it's not like Play-Doh or air dry clay. We can just stick it together and now it's good. It'll stay together now, but once it's dry, it'll fall right apart. So you have to do something called slipping and scoring. You can do this with any type of a scratchy tool. I like to use a fork because it goes a little faster and it gets a nice scratch. And this basically sort of works almost like a Velcro. So two smooth sides of clay typically won't stay together. So we do this, and then we just dip a little bit of water onto there. Some people actually use a mixture of clay dust and water, and that's real slip, but for our purposes, we're just gonna put a little water on, and any clay dust that's in there will mix together with it. And then we're gonna give it a good press together. Now we're gonna press it together, but we wanna make sure that we're still seeing the line between the two pieces so that it looks like feet. And then we're gonna just tap it to make sure it's a little flat on one bottom. Make sure it can stand up on its own. And you're gonna repeat this with your other piece. Whoops, I really probably should have done just that. Okay, and give it a good press together. Another little extra insurance policy that you can do, which works great, is that when you stick them together, you can also take the blunt or rounded end of your tool and just drag a little bit of clay over from the top or bottom, and that will just help it stick together a little bit better. I've tapped the bottom to make sure it's nice and flat so that this can stand all on its own. Now I'm going to attach the belly. So I'm going to take my little oval shape and I'm going to tap here so that I get this little angle, and I'm going to tap here so that I now have these two parts that come up. Now I'm going to score and slip. Sometimes I like to dip my fork in the water too when I go to do this. And I'm going to do sort of the top side of the leg. So I'm not doing the direct side, but I'm not doing straight on the top, because this little angle, it's going to sort of fit like that in there. So now I'm going to add my little bit of water. Okay, I'm going to give it a nice firm press. Same thing here. Nice firm press. Okay, now I don't want to blend this together here because I want to see the difference between the balloons. But if I wanted to, I could be sneaky and hide just a little bit of blending underneath the belly and smooth that. Okay, so sometimes those little hidden blends can work great. Also in the area where I'm going to be putting the tail, I can blend a tiny bit down there, and also where I'm going to be putting my head and neck. So now I still have those nice distinct little shapes, but now I know it's super duper secure. Now I'm going to attach my neck. Whoops, I forgot to have my neck on the sheet. So that's just going to be, again, another little kind of cylinder shape or coil, nice thick coil. And I'm going to slip. Uh-oh, my knot just fell in my cup of water. Where are you? There we go. I'm going to slip and score this on here. And I'm also going to slip and score this before I put it on so I can attach the head. And I'm going to give it a good press on and just sort of gently blend a little bit on there, and then just sort of redefine that line between there. Now I'm going to attach my head. For the head, you want to score the side, the skinny side of the teardrop, and you should already have some scoring on your neck. So I'm going to press this on really good. And for here, I want you to blend it on really well so that we know it's nice and sturdy and strong, and then you can smooth it out, because we're not going to see the place where they were joined together here. Whoops. Because we're going to be putting the ears on top. Uh-oh, lights went off. And I'm back. Okay, so here's how he looks from the side. So now I'm going to slip and score together my ears, just like I did with my legs. Okay, and I can blend them a little. Now, in the area where I go to attach them, I want to kind of make almost like a little divot for it to kind of like conform around the head. So I kind of make like a little indent like that. And then I'm going to score inside there and score here so it just pops right on there. And just to be a little extra safe, I'm going to go to the back of his head and I'm going to blend that on really well. Okay. Now at this point, there's going to be a lot of weight at the top while it's wet. So what I like to do at this point is grab a dry paper towel, 1 or 2 dry paper towels, just ball it up and just tuck it under his neck, just so the weight doesn't drag it forward. So my second to last couple steps, we're going to slip and score the back side of the tail, slip and score the back side of his backside, or the top side of his backside, and going to get that all blended on there. Okay, so now if we look at him from the side, you can see we have a nice balloon dog shape, and we want to make sure that he can stand independently. Okay, so he doesn't need anything holding him up, except right now we're just using this just to help with the neck weight, but you want to be able to take it off and make sure it can stay as well. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to pinch a little piece of clay, roll a little ball, slip and score this onto the very front here. Okay, press, give it a little twist, and then you're going to kind of shape it into the little knot. Take the back side of the skewer and press it in, and you can actually press it all the way into the head, and that's going to be another great way to allow air to flow through it so it can dry better and that we don't get any you know, air or moisture trapped in there that we don't want. Okay, once you've done this, you're going to show it to me. I will help you add a few more holes in it just to make sure that it dries really nice, but then your balloon dog will be all ready to dry and glaze. Remember, this isn't something that we're going to be completing in one class. We're going to be making the pieces a few at a time, and we're going to be wrapping them up every week. Just don't forget, slip, score, and blend, and wedge every single piece of clay that you use for your project. Have lots of fun.